What it do? It's your boy, Young Semaj, and this is the SEMAJvlog. Welcome. This is episode 3. Episode 3 is talking about defeating doubts about your calling. Excuse me, I'm a little bit amp. Take my coffee with me today too. Cool. Talking about defeating doubts about your calling. So let's jump into it. Number 1, I want to address that I'm talking to people who really know their calling. So who I'm talking to is people who really know their calling, but they know that they're not walking into it. And this word kind of came out of the study of Gideon and diving into it a little bit more. I say kind of, a lot of it came out of Gideon. Judges 6, which is the story of Gideon. A little hot in here, the lights and stuff like that. Sorry. So I'm talking to people who really know their calling, but for whatever reason, they're not stepping into it. For whatever reason, these people are not stepping into their calling. You, right there, listening, you're the one I'm talking to. You know your calling. And so that's my first point. And so let's talk about that. So point A, under point number 1 is I'm talking to people who know their calling. They're just not walking in. They're just not stepping into it or walking into it. Point A is how do you know? The whole thing of this is how is just knowing that you're called to something. How do you know that you're called to something? And these people that I'm talking to, my audience for this particular vlog, they're going to know I'm talking to them because these things right here, A, B, and C, are going to resonate with them. So A, you've reached a major accomplishment using your calling, or you've had many consistent wins, big and small, using your calling. So point A is you've reached a major accomplishment using your calling, or you've seen just consistent results walking in your calling, and consistent wins. So if you've seen that, to me, I was talking about on vlog episode number 1. You hear me talking about William 380, Judah Man, SOAK. My whole premise in even bringing that up is to just kind of talk about a time in my life where I knew I was walking in my calling, where the fruits of everything that I was seeing were the evidence, you know what I mean, that I was walking in my calling, because I had, and where we're going to jump, and that's going to fall into this episode, what I'm about to say is I had a certain knowing that it was my calling, you know what I mean, that I was doing the right thing, no matter what anybody could say. And I feel like I've walked into that season again in life, and I hope that other people are doing the same. And that's why I'm here. I'm here to commend you, to encourage you, and to support you in doing it as you support me as well. All right, so what I put down is so if I talk about that a little bit more, I had major accomplishments, what I feel like traveling the U.S., being able to do music, and do it like full time and just go for it. I feel like that was a major accomplishment. I made so many relationships, met so many people, and so many people emailed me, hit me up on MySpace, because we was doing it back in the MySpace days, but hit me up on MySpace and on all type of social medias, email and things like that, just telling me how much the music helped change them, you know what I'm saying? And so that's really my greatest reward, you know what I'm saying? The lights, I'm sorry. Anyway, so yeah, I'm pretty sure that there, you who following the vlog and watching, you've had times where you've gotten many wins, or maybe you do something on the side that you're doing on the side, and people are telling you, whoa, that's great, like it's amazing, and that's what you keep hearing over and over. that side thing is probably your calling. Whatever you're doing for your job, you might be spending too much time there. You might need to be working on your calling. Trying to think of other scenarios. Just, I mean, maybe you know, it's just the point that I'm making is there's a time when everybody can look at you and say, yo, you got it in that. You know, yo, or, you know, they would just respect you when they talk about you to other people. They say, yo, he or she is great at such and such. They're a great artist, they're a great painter, they're a great writer, they're a great singer, they have a voice that's amazing, they can rap, they can dance, you know, they're on this reading level. So when other people see those things in you, that's what I'm saying here is that you know for a fact that that's your calling, because even other people have confirmed it. And we've talked about other people's opinions, but when people respect your art, when people respect your craft, when people respect the service that you give, it's authentic, you know what I mean? And so that is something that you want to embrace, those opinions, because it's authentic, it's a service, it's something that you gave out, and it's something that people responded to. Alright, so A was you've reached a major accomplishment using your calling. This is how you'll know that you're walking in your calling. Or you've had many consistent small and big wins, you know, using your calling. Okay. B is you're determined. And so like I said, this kind of all derived out of the book of Gideon, and not the book of Gideon, I'm sorry, it's Judges. It's the story of Gideon, but it arrives all out of that. And what's happening in that story is that the Israelites are oppressed by the Midianites, and every time that every time pretty much their food, pretty much these crops to me were symbolizing the provision. Every time the provision came up, every time the harvest time, the Midianites would come in and steal the harvest. And so Gideon starts seeing in the middle of him being in the wine press, and he's in the wine press, but he's dealing with wheat. I can't remember the term. Even when I was doing my notes, I didn't quite remember what the term was that they said he was doing with the wheat. But in the midst of that, in the midst of basically he was getting the wheat ready. I don't know what you do. You sift wheat, whatever you do with wheat to make food. That's what he was doing, but he was doing it in the wine press, and it says to hide it from the Midianites. So that tells me that Midian was a determined man. Even though he was hiding, you know, that was their way, that was their means for provision, that was their means of food. So he was smart enough to go to a different place, a different type of environment than you would normally be in when you're dealing with wheat. And he was doing that in the wine press. So he was determined. He didn't give up. There's probably some other men in the Israelite camp that had given up, had said, okay man, they're just gonna steal it. What I'm gonna do? Why I'm gonna try? Why I'm gonna give any effort? It's just gonna get stolen. They're just gonna come in and take it. I might die for it, you know what I'm saying? But Gideon was actually in the wine press, you know, secretly, you know, getting his grind on. I think you grind wheat, so that might be what we was talking about. That might be a good point. And so you're determined, you know. So number A was, you know, there's evidence, pretty much is what I was saying. And A is that there's evidence that, you know, that you're walking in your calling, that you're walking in the right direction, that you're moving. There's fruits from what you're doing. And B is that you're determined. You know, there's a determination in you. There's an ambition inside of you. And that's how you know that you're called to what you're doing. It sparks that ambition. It sparks that determination. And okay, and C is you've got the underdog rep, or if you got the underdog story. I mean, like, if you read that story in Judges, if you read the story of Gideon, when the angel of the Lord comes to Gideon and tell him to, take over the land, he says, I'm poor, pretty much. My family is the poorest family, and I am the weakest of them all. And you know what I'm saying? And so, and we see that also in the story of David, where David is not even considered when, was it, what get it right? Come on. Samuel? Yeah, Samuel. So, when Samuel's coming to find David, he asks, I believe it's Jesse, for his sons, and David's not even considered in the first round. You know what I'm saying? He's like, oh yeah, I got old David in the back. You know what I'm saying? And so, it's the underdog. If you're the underdog, if it seems like what you're doing may be crazy, if it seems like it might be outside of the box, if it might be radical, and that if it seems like you can't make it, you're not the one. You know what I'm saying? You're unlikely to succeed. I think I put that down. Yeah, you're not up to par. You're not up to the status quo. You feel unworthy, and you can't shake the drawing though. Even though through all that, the greatest part of that point is you need to be unqualified. You need to be. It's a scripture that says that Christ came to save the ungodly. So you need to be unqualified, ungodly, unrighteous to be made righteous. You need to be sick to need a doctor. So that's the qualification. But it's also a drawing. It's also a certain yearning, so to speak, that even though you feel unqualified, even though you feel like you can't do what this desire in your mind and in your heart, even though you feel like you can't do that, you still be like making strides towards it. It's weird. It's like, I never accomplished that, but for some reason you can't help but to make strides towards it. It's crazy. And so that's how you know if you're called to something, to a specific thing, and you can apply what I just said to whatever you think you're called and see if you're called to it. And that's coming, pretty much straight from the book of Gideon. Keep saying the book of Gideon. Book of Judges, story of Gideon, Judges 6. I believe that's where the story starts. Let me get some coffee, because I'm talking about the book of Gideon. Y'all know I keep all my bloopers in there, so sorry. So number 2 is when we're talking about the whole thing, our whole message is defeating doubts about your calling. Number 1 was pretty much know that you're called, and I gave you points A, B, and C of how knowing that you're called. Matter of fact, so back in my other videos, I wanted to say I apologize. I'm getting better. I'm taking feedback and everything like that. Back in my other videos, I had like 3 points, and then I had 3 points under those, but I labeled them with numbers. I should have labeled them with letters, so whenever I referenced, maybe I'm talking about point 1, major point, main point, and then subtopic A. Well, I said 1, so you don't know which one I'm talking about. If I said point 1 and I'm talking about subtopic 1, you know which one I'm talking about, so I'm sorry. But if you follow anything like that, I got a lot of thumbs up on that, and I got a lot of views, so I appreciate the support. But so now you're going to see topics with the number 2, main topics, and then subtopics with letters A, B, and C to explain the topics. So anyway, number 2 is prepare. So there will be circumstances that will arise that will have the potential to prolong, sidetrack, or even destroy your calling. So there's going to be times in your life, there's going to be seasons, circumstances, and times that have the potential to prolong, sidetrack, or even destroy your calling. And some of those things are going to be out of your control, and there's going to be nothing you can do about them, and you're going to just have to run the stride with them. So what I wrote about that, to prepare for that type of thing when it comes to your calling, is to write down and have a vision. So like I was telling you before, Gideon, an angel of the Lord came to Gideon, and he told him exactly what to do. And when Gideon finally, Gideon went through this process, and that's what really made me think about the word doubt in this whole story. He went through a process where he, I won't say tested God, but he wanted to make sure that he was hearing from God. So he asked God to give him signs. And that's what I was talking about in point A, is God has probably given you signs. He's did things. He's given you fruit. People have said things. You know it deep down inside. It's deep rooted. And you know it. And he's giving you these signs, yet you're still not doing it. Because Gideon, one time he put a fleece outside. He told God to make all the grass wet with dew, but make the fleece dry. And then the next time he says reverse it, or it's vice versa, whatever. I think it's vice versa, but whatever. Anyway, God does exactly what he says. And I say this, I use this scenario with a lot of people. I try to like bring it up to speed to our time. I say if God told you to travel across the United States, and you say, okay, God, I hear you saying me to travel. I think I hear you saying me to travel across the United States. But and you say, well, God, but I need a sign. And you say, the sign is I need a red Porsche 911 outside in the morning when I wake up. And when you outside in the morning when you wake up, you go outside and you look, there's a red Porsche 911 and the keys are there and everything. You can drive it. You see what I'm saying? That's what Gideon had. God did exactly what Gideon asked, and then Gideon asked him to do it again. And Gideon had to go through so many other trials. So there's some of you out there. There's some of you out there who know, like God has shown you, and you still asking. And it's because that of what I talked about in episode 1. A lot of it is because of other people's opinions. The other reason probably is because of your own opinions, and it could be because of point 2 here, which is not preparation. I mean, not preparing. And so write down a vision, have it plain. Gideon had a vision of him defeating the Midianites with the help of God as one man. That's what God said. You'll be known as one man. And that's going to be important when I get down to the last point in this vlog, is that God said as one man you're going to be known as defeating the Midianites. And we know that. We'll get to that because I was going to talk about the 300, but that's coming up. You got to go through trials and error of preparation. So, I mean, that's going to look bad. I'm sorry. You just hit the camera. It's going to look bad in the video. Anyway, I'm not cutting it out. I'm still going because this message is good. Go through trial and error of preparation. So, you got to go through the trial and error of preparation. You can prepare, but part of preparing is to try and see what you're preparing with. Try to see if it works out. Because if you're preparing for things but you don't really do trial and error and see if it works, then when the things happen, you don't really know if what you have is useful. But if you do trial and error, if you mimic certain scenarios, then you will be able to respond if that actual scenario happens. You see what I'm saying? And so go through the trial and error. So what happened is, what happened in the story of Gideon, trial and error, as he was preparing, after he finally was like, "All right, God, I hear you, I believe you. You know what I mean? You didn't show me, the Porsche 911 that's red, and I didn't ask you other stuff, and you showed me that too. I finally believe you." So, okay, after he was preparing to go on this mission, anybody who was scared, they were asked to leave. And so a lot of soldiers left. A lot of people left. I think it was 11,000, not 100% sure, but it was a big number. It was in double-digit thousands that left. They were scared. They were scared to go and try to take over the Midianites, and so they left. Also, there was a test that God asked Gideon to do, where he asked him, where basically anybody who went and drank water from the pond like a dog, they had to get out. Anybody who scooped it up in their hand and stood up and scooped it in their hand, they stayed. And so basically the story of Gideon is he has 300 soldiers, and he goes against, I forget, I think it's 22,000, maybe it's more. I'm not 100% sure, but 300 versus a double-digit thousand number, pretty much. So Gideon goes against them, and so the point, so that's point B is you got to go through trial and error preparation. Whatever you're preparing for, you got to test it out. You got to mimic it. You got to. I talked about that in episode 1 as well, when I talk about IMA, imagination, meditation, affirmation, and that's basically mimicking situations before they happen. You gotta practice that, so when the situations do happen, it's just second nature. Soldiers know this, and I talked about and had discussions with people about that, how soldiers, this is what soldiers prepare for. So it's just second nature when those situations happen. It's just, let's go, boom, 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 boom. Let's, this is what I do. You know what I mean? So you gotta prepare. And so point C on preparation is make an unwavering decision to not turn back. You gotta at some point, if you want to destroy doubt, because that's what we're talking about, the doubt of your calling, all the doubts, all the things that could come up try to stop you in your calling. If you want to destroy that, at some point you got to make an unwavering decision to not turn back. You've got to make a decision to say is do or die. I am ready. I'm gonna go. And Gideon got a lot of signs from the Lord, where the first sign he should have just been good and say, I'm ready. But he got a lot of signs, and it took him a long time, but he got it, and he was like, I'm ready. So you got to just be, I'm ready, I do or die. Point C. And so moving on to point 3 is to 3, and this thing is to attack. I mean, it's take action, execute the plan. Number 1 was to have a certain knowing, in your calling, and number 2 was to prepare. Wherever you can, wherever you're at, prepare and apply all those things that I was talking about. And number 3 is to attack, take action, execute the plan that you know is there. And so Gideon finally took action. He executed God's plan, and like I was saying about that one man thing. What ended up happening is that the plan that was executed pretty much made it to where none of the Israelites had to do a thing, to where what they did is they blew trumpets, they broke glass, they lit fire, all type of things. They did these things to while the Midianites were asleep, and the Midianites woke up and began to kill themselves, and they slaughtered them own selves and ran off. And so, and that story, if you think about it, Gideon, that vision that God gave Gideon in the vision in the beginning, to where he was one man and he was going to be known as that, really that was the real deal, because nobody had to do anything. So it was his plan. It was in him executing the plan. It was God's plan that God gave Gideon, and him executing that plan. Nobody had to move a finger. Nobody had to do anything. You know what I'm saying? And so really one man, his plan executed, bada bing, bada boom. And so that came to pass. So in the points of attack, take action, execute, or whatever, to just do it, pretty much like Nike. Follow out the plan. Don't overlook the small actions and the baby steps. So follow out the plan. Don't overlook the small actions and the baby steps. All the little things combined in this whole story, in this whole the way things formulated in the story of Gideon. It was the little small things. It was the little things that they did that God told them to do, and they did it. And that is overall what got them the victory. If they had not did the whole things, it probably would have not. If they had not did all the things that God told them to do, it probably would have not created that illusion as perfectly for the Midianites to turn on themselves and kill each other. And so don't overlook the small things. They help you win the big battle, and that's what I put on there. I was almost like the small little closing thing on there. And then so point B under attack, take action, and execute the plan. Point B under that is know that even though the work of preparation was hard, the work of the war will feel effortless. That's D. Even though the work of preparation was hard, the work of the war will be or feel effortless. So, you know, and I put that down really for me personally, because preparation is, I'm not there, you know, it's not happening. I'm preparing for what's going to happen. And to me, a lot of times that can discourage me, is that I'm not in the action of what I'm envisioning. I feel like I'm a visionary, a pioneer. And so I'm not in the action of that, you know, and so that's what discourages me a lot. And so, point B was to know that, you know, that's what makes it hard. I was saying that to say that's what makes it hard in the preparation stage, but in the creation, in the war stage, when you're doing it, when it's happening, when things are boom boom, when it's lights, camera, action, it's amazing. It feels effortless. It's not work. You know what I'm saying? And that's what you should know as your calling. Your calling shouldn't feel like work. You should be able to do it, and then you'd be like, oh snap, 12 hours I went in, 14 hours I went in a day. Whoa, I didn't know that. It felt like 3. You know what I'm saying? For real. Okay, and then the last point of this, all this is C is complete the mission. Complete the mission. You complete it. There's some of you like me. I'm writing a book, 100 pages in. I need to have like 200 and something pages, at least 200 pages at the very least. And so, and I'm almost, if I can't even remember the exact number, but in a couple of months, I'm sure it'll almost be 2 years that I've been working on the book, and I've been stagnant in that in a certain way. But there's other things in your life that, you know, that God's called you to do that you're not committing to, you're not completing, and you've started it and you've gotten a long way. You just somewhere along the way gave up or got sidetracked. And so complete the mission. I'm telling you, just like I'm telling myself, in the area of the book, there's other things that I've done that I'm completing the mission on. But there's some areas for me, there's some areas for you, that you got to complete the mission on. You just got to do it. You got to go ahead and, you know what I'm saying? So what I put down here is, when it's showtime, show up. When it's showtime, show up. Be clutch. Don't freeze up. Follow through. Be clutch. Don't freeze up. Follow through. When it's showtime, show up. And Gideon could have backed out at the last minute. Gideon could have backed out at the last minute, but he didn't. He went on ahead and followed through. We know he was doubtful in the beginning, but he went on ahead and followed through. Be a leader. So point A under complete the mission is be a leader. Gideon instructed the people to do as he did. So, you know, Gideon blew the trumpet first. Gideon and his 100 men, they split them up into 300. They split 300 into 3 companies, into 3 parts. And so Gideon and his 100 men, they did everything first, and everybody else followed suit. So he went first. He was a leader. Be a leader. Go first. Be a leader. Go first. Be a leader. I always tell my children, go first. Be a leader. Don't be a follower. Be a leader. Be the head and not the tail. Above and never beneath. And so be a leader. All right. B is have a battle cry. Have a mantra. Have something that you say to yourself. In episode 1, I talked about affirmations and confessions and stuff like that. Things to say to yourself for your identity. But be able to say that in the midst of the battle. Be able to say that in the midst of trouble when you're going through. Have something that you got right there to say in the midst of trouble, in the midst of battle, in the midst of the fight. Have a reminder. Have something. And they said, what was the saying is, they said, the sword of the Lord against you, and Gideon. Basically, they're basically saying God against you and Gideon against you. You know what I'm saying? And so they said that was their battle cry. That was their mantra in the midst of the battle, in the midst of the fight. They had something to say. They had something to remind them of who they are, what they were here for, the vision and everything else, the preparation, the knowing that they're there, the preparation and everything else. And so, let's see. And this mantra, this thing that you say, this affirmation, it should remind you of your purpose, of your calling, and it should renew your strength. It should renew your strength, and that's what you gotta have. Like I said in episode 1 of the Semaj vlog, I said I have affirmations on my wall that I say. Those things renew my strength. I said I have in my phone, and I needed to do better, and I've been doing better since the first episode. And those things renew my strength. That's what they do. They remind me of who I am, no matter what anybody says. I know what God says about me. I know that these are the desires that God has put in me. These are the things that God has put in me. And I wrote those things down, and I confess them. I affirm them in myself, because I have to have a great identity of myself first. And so, you know, in the whole scheme of everything, on defeating, the whole topic was defeating the doubt about your calling. Recapping is to know who I'm talking to. Number one is that the person that I'm talking to right now, they know their calling, and they know they're not walking in it for whatever reason. Number two, and I told you how to, you know, get through that, and how to know that that's that. If you don't know, I gave you the formula how you can know, you know, if you're walking in your calling. And you can also use that formula for your future endeavors. If you're taking a job, or you're starting a business, or anything like that, that you want to figure out if this is part of your calling, if this lines up with your calling, use that formula. 2 was to prepare, and I gave you a formula on how to prepare. You know, there are going to be circumstances that come to knock you off your rocker, that come to prolong a sidetrack, and even there are going to be circumstances that try to destroy your calling. Are you going to prepare for them? Because they're going to come. And number 3 was take action, attack, execute the plan. You got to have a plan. I talked about that in the preparation stage. Just execute the plan. Don't get up. You know, for me, and for a lot of people too, emotions start to get in the mix. And you have a plan, but when you start to think from an emotional place first, then the plan can go out the window. Don't think from an emotional place. Have a plan, have a vision. Think from a visionary place. Think as a leader. You know, think from what God has already done in the past. You know, what you've been given, what's been proven in the past. Think from that. All right, it's your boy, Young Semaj. I'm done. Vlog number 3, defeating doubt about your calling. I gave you the points. We ran through them. Hope that you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe, share. I'm not gonna stop. I'm coming to you. Boom, 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 boom.